Hey everyone, thank you for hopping on so we can talk about our North Carolina teacher evaluation process and go through our training and orientation. A lot of you have probably had this every year, but it's required to do it every year, so here we are. By the end of this, I want you guys to have a better understanding of the observation evaluation process and the ratings. And I also want to make sure you all complete your orientation, know how to complete your self-assessment, and even potentially begin your professional development plan, PDP, depending on what you're working on. So some of you may have heard this 1,000 times because all teachers must complete the training and orientation. So that's today. August 14th is the date you will enter. This has to be completed within the first 10 days of school, and they mean your work days too. So even if you're watching this Monday or Tuesday, you're going to put August 14th. These are due Tuesday, but please put the date as August 14th. Your self-assessment will be due September 14th. In my opinion, while you guys are in the platform, I would just go ahead and knock it out. It's not a ton of work. It's just where you think you are. Your PDP will also be due September 14th for the beginning of year one. So you have a beginning of year, mid-year, and an end of year. The first one will be due September 14th. You will want to talk to your PLC and make sure you guys know your WIG because that will be your first goal. So you guys will have at least two goals. One will be your WIG, your wildly important goal, and that you make with your PLC, and then you should have a personal goal as well. And then, of course, all teachers must complete a summary evaluation, which happens at the end of the year. The one thing I want you guys to really take away from this whole thing is that this is really about growth. It is not a gotcha. We're not here to damage you, make you upset. It's really a growth model. We want to see growth throughout the whole year. So from the beginning of the year to the end of the year, we should see a difference in your ratings because you're growing and learning how you continue to grow and partake in activities that will help you grow. Informally, we'll be doing our walkthroughs that we call them. I guess now they'll be, I don't know. I don't know what word it will be. We'll come up with something new since I'll be online. But we'll be popping in to give you informal tips and tricks, ideas, thoughts while we're in your rooms for quick amounts of time. And then you'll have this one as your more formal one. And it really, we just want to see growth as you continue to progress in your careers. So there are three types of evaluation plans. One is your comprehensive. This is our new teachers. They get 3 formal observations, 45 minutes each from a school administrator. And they also get 1 peer observation, and then it ends the year with their summative. Our standard evaluation is for our teachers who are 4 or more years, or they're in their license renewal year. So they'll get 3 formal observations, 45 minutes from a school administrator, and a summative. So they don't have to get the peer. And then the abbreviated ones are our career teachers that are not in renewal years. They get 2 formal observations from a school administrator, and we only look at standards 1 and 4, and then we end their year with a summative as well. So I think part of my screen got cut off here, but this is the ratings for your evaluation. So not demonstrated is you're consistently below expectations, failed to make progress toward the agreed upon goals. So we're just not seeing any growth, not trying, not listening to feedback. Developing is your performance did not consistently meet those expectations. Demonstrates growth in developing some job skills. And the big thing that when I think of developing is that you know what to do. Like you know that there are standards. You know that it's important to create relationships. You know classroom management's important. Proficient gets into you do those things. So like you know the standards exist and you do them. We see them in your classroom. We see that you're teaching them. And that the big pieces here is that it's solid. You routinely do it. Sometimes you exceed. So we're not saying that you're not exceeding. Sometimes you have fantastic lessons that blow us away, but it's, not, you do it sometimes, not all the time. That's to move into that like next stage of accomplished. That's maintain/impact when I think about it. So that is that your performance consistently exceeds expectations. So like know is like expectations, developing is that you do those expectations, accomplish is that you are consistently exceeding our expectations. Really making that impact all the time. We could walk in your room on a day that you're like, oh, today's a bad day, but it's great, even if you say it's bad. And then distinguish gets into the extension, and that really gets into the you're consistent and significantly exceeding expectations. This might look like, you have leadership roles within the district or the state or the nation. So, you're highly regarded, not just by people in our building all the time, and you go above and beyond. So I just want to make sure there's sometimes confusion, especially around proficient and accomplished. So just remember that it's consistently exceeding and you're maintaining and impacting others at the accomplished level. A ton of resources regarding the evaluation and the rubric and timelines and all that information can be found from NCDPI, the Department of Public Instruction. So they're linked here if you wanted to go look. When you have your observation, you can go through and we have the CMS indicators, and that can kind of be like, hey, this, performance or skill task usually falls under this category. So again, guys, proficient is like you're a good teacher. Like your job and you're doing your job and you're doing it well. So don't get hung up on the fact if you get proficient, that's saying you know and do what you're supposed to be doing. And sometimes people get sad if they get proficient, but proficient means you're good. All right, so your PDP plans are all about goals and goal setting and where you want to go, what you're hoping to achieve. There are 3 different types of PDP plans. So we have the individual ones, which is where you set and track your own goals. You say, by the end of the year, I want to do X, and this is how I'm going to do it. Monitored means that you and the principal or admin can set and track goals together. So we might say like, hey, we've kind of hinted to you that classroom management is a area of need, so let's make that your goal, and these are some of the things we're going to do to make sure that improves. And then we work together for those. And directed is like the principal or admin sets the goals for you and says, hey, this is what you need to do, and this is how I want to see you do it. Any teacher has been rated developing in 2 or more standards may be placed on a monitored or directed PDP for the upcoming school year. Just wanted to make sure you guys knew that. Another thing about PDP goals is that they are SMART goals, guys. So I'm sure you've all heard of SMART goals, but let's do a quick check that remember that SMART stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. So, I always start all my goals by the end of the 2020-2021 school year, what will happen? Because it has to be time bound. You can't just say my kids are going to get better in math. Well, how and by when? So we have to be a little bit more time bound and measurable and specific in those things. Another thing I want to make sure you guys know is achievable. This year is going to be a little funky with some of our PDP goals because we typically look at previous year's scores and can say, okay, like 54% were proficient. I want to make sure 70% of my class is proficient this year. We won't have that data, so they'll look a little bit different, but I don't want you guys to be like, hey, 20% of my class was proficient. This year I want 97% of them. Like, that's great. I really hope you do get 97%, but we want to make sure you're setting yourself up not to fail and making sure your goals are SMART and achievable and specific. So you can set a challenging target, but you're not asking for miracles. PDP expectations. Again, you guys, your first goal will be your WIG, and your second goal will be personal. So there again, look, there's my example. By the end of the 2020-21 school year, I'll create and intentionally incorporate literacy practices into my math classes. This will help my students improve their reading comprehension abilities outside of their language arts curriculum. Something like that. You can use verbiage out of the evaluation tool. So like the second one, like I will have established a safe and orderly classroom. That's one of the goals in the evaluation. So how are you going to do that? So just when you're thinking of ideas, there's some good ones. So training orientation, I am going to hop into my talent. So all this stuff will be found in my talent. And there are directions and screenshots on how to go in and do this, but I'm actually going to go in and do it as a model for you for the training orientation. Miss Falls was generous enough to let me hijack her account. So just let me hop over there for a second. So when you log into my talent, it's your first half of your email. So mine's heatherl.haas. You do not need the @cms.k12.nc.us. And whatever your password is, typically it starts as that capital C M $sign in the last 5 of your social. You may have changed it though. All right. Once you're in my talent, you can go to my evaluation and you should see that everything has been changed over for this year. So if I go into standard evaluation, you will see that the first thing on here is training/orientation. So if you click on that and go into training and orientation, you can go in, hit edit. I have received orientation on. And remember, we are doing August 14th, even if you fill this out on Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. It is the 14th. And then you can do save and exit. This is where people get hung up. You did save and exit. You have this pretty green check over here. However, you have to click mark complete at the top. If you do not mark complete, it will not register as done. You will know it's done when you come back out and see that you have green checks. All right, so like I just did Miss Falls for her. Really easy, not tough. In here, you'll also see observation 1, 2, 3, and your summative. So this is where we'll be when we're doing your observations, just so you know. So when you're in observations, we'll have a pre-conference. A lot of my talent is back and forth of, hey, did you sign it? Green check, yes, submit it, all those steps. All right, so you have your whole evaluation in here. I'm going to go back in just so you can see. And then PDP, if you now are on that home screen again, let me go all the way back out so you guys can see if it will work. You know how things work sometimes. Go home, come on. So you're in here, you go to my evaluation, and this time if you go to PDP, you'll go in, here's your self-assessment. You'll go in and you'll start new. And you go in and rank where you think you are. One thing to know about the evaluation tool, if you have not checked everything in proficient, you cannot be accomplished. So you may be like, hey, yeah, I do this and this and this and this and this, so I'm accomplished. If you did not check this box, your overall ranking will be proficient. Okay, you cannot be accomplished if you have not completed everything beforehand. I am not going to fill out Miss Falls's for her. I'm sure she wouldn't care if I did, but that's not right. But you go through, fill out all your standards. If you are in a renewal year, you will only have, yours will be shorter. And then when you're done, you'll do the save and exit as well. And then you have to go here to the menu, and then you'll do share. So that lets us see it, and then you can mark complete after that. It's a little bit of a crazy step, but remember in the presentation there are pictures to help you with that process. So that should be helpful. So that was